The WNBA season kicks off May 19th, and before the first tip-off, let's take a look at every single team and give some predictions. We are going from worst to first. We started off with Indiana Fever, and now we are talking about the LA Sparks. Now, the LA Sparks is a team with championship legacy. But recently, they've been pretty much at the bottom. They've been stinking it up with the Indiana Fever. And we're going to take a look at who's on the roster, what themes we want to take a look at for this year, and just what's happening. But before I go any further, I just want to let you all know that I read every single comment that is made, and I try to reply to as many as possible. So give your thoughts about the LA Sparks. If you think what I have to say is trash, let me know. If you like this video, please like it. If you want to see more WNBA / women's basketball content, please subscribe to this channel. All right, let's get started talking about the LA Sparks. All right, let's take a look at how LA has fared in the last couple of years. So in 2016, the LA Sparks won the WNBA championship. In 2017, they were in second place in the Western Conference with a record of 26-8, so very, very well. In 2018, the LA Sparks were number 6 in league-wide standings with a record of 19-15. In 2017, the LA Sparks were basically top of the league with a record of 26-8. So number 2 in league-wide standings. In 2018, the Sparks were 19-15. So kind of middle of the pack, but still they made the playoffs. In 2019, the LA Sparks were number 3 in the league with a record of 22-12. But the biggest thing to know about 2019 is that this is the year that Derek Fisher decided to bench Candace Parker when it mattered the most. In the semifinals of the playoffs, the LA Sparks were playing against the Connecticut Sun, who was a very formative team at the time. And Candace Parker wasn't having the best of game. And Derek Fisher decided, well, you're not playing that well. Let me bench you. So Candace Parker basically sat on the bench for a must-win semifinal game. Of course, LA lost because their best player was on the bench. And yes, of course, she wasn't having the best of games. However, she is your best player. And when it comes down to it, you live and die by your best player. You don't put them on the bench. Like, it's crazy. Connecticut ended up winning the series. Of course, they lost to the eventual winners, which is the Washington Mystics. But that kind of was the beginning of the end for Los Angeles. When Fisher benched Candace, at least from a fan's perspective, I was actually very upset because I have been a huge Candace Parker fan since her Tennessee days, and actually since her Naperville days, actually. And it was just like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, she wasn't having the best of games, but like, come on now. Like, you don't bench. You just don't bench your best player. Especially when the person who's coming in for her just isn't, to Candace Parker's quality, right? And basically after that, I was done with the LA Sparks. I was done. I was like, this is ridiculous. I lost all faith in Derek Fisher as a coach. And just really in the team. And I think as a team, LA lost faith in Derek as well, because that really, I think, is what set the bar for Chelsea Gray to leave LA. And eventually that led to Candace Parker leaving LA as well. All right, rant about Derek Fisher over. Back to the standings. In 2020, the LA Sparks finished in 3rd place. That was the wobble year. They went 15-7. In 2021, LA went 12-20. So terrible. They were down in the dumps with Atlanta and Indiana. This was the year that Candace Parker, she fully left and went to the Chicago Sky and won a championship with the Chicago Sky. Woot woot. But yeah, LA sucked. Yes, they had the Ogwumike sisters, but like it just wasn't enough to actually be competitive in the league at all. In 2022, more of the same. LA was 13-23 at the bottom of the table, again with Atlanta and Indiana. All right, so we took a look at how they've been. Let's actually take a look at where I think LA is going. So I think LA is trying to right the ship. So Derek Fisher is gone and not the coach anymore. Now you have Curt Miller, who Curt Miller previously was the coach of the Connecticut Sun. And Curt Miller, as a coach, I have to admit, he's a great regular season coach. Like, this guy can get a team to win some regular season games. Can he win it all? No. But at least we can tell from the Sparks getting Curt Miller, we know that this team is going to get in shape in terms of the regular season. Will they ever win another championship with Curt Miller? Maybe not. Probably not. But at least they have some hopes of not being at the bottom of the barrel for the rest of the year. And in terms of this team and personnel, let's actually take a look at the roster for the team. Like, I think they have a solid enough team. All right, so from a roster perspective, I think the two most important players for the LA Sparks this year is Nneka Ogwumike, of course, your leader for several years, and Zia Cooke, the rookie from South Carolina. So the reason why I say Nneka Ogwumike is because, of course, why wouldn't I say her? She is the most important player on the Sparks in terms of a offensive production, at least for the last couple of years. She is a bona fide leader for the team and also for the league itself. I believe she's still in charge of the Players Association, I think. So Nneka is great. I believe she averaged something like 18 points a game last year. Just great production. Nneka is great, and she just really is a solid player that you could just count on to score, basically. To score when you need her. The only tough part is she's getting older, and you have to worry about injuries a lot more than you used to have to worry about. So that's a bit of a concern, but the core of the Sparks has been Nneka Ogwumike, at least since Candace left, and I think it will continue to be Nneka for at least 1 or 2 more years. The other person I think that is super, super important to LA's success this year and also in the future is Zia Cooke. So Zia Cooke is a super solid point guard who has the opportunity to be LA's sixth man. I don't think she will be starting this year. I'd probably put money on it that she probably won't start this year, at least to start the season. But she has the opportunity to be the first person off the bench. That serves a couple of roles. She has the opportunity to just give a break to Jasmine Thomas, who I think will be the starting point guard for this team. She can bring in solid minutes. Zia Cooke can bring in solid minutes. She can bring in some pretty good production. She has good defense. And she's just an additional life to this older team, right? You have Jasmine Thomas, 12 years in the league. You have Nneka Ogwumike, 11 years. Lasia Clarendon, 9 years. You have a lot of older players on this team. And I think Zia Cooke will be able to give some youthfulness to this team. And as I mentioned in the Fever video, the huge benefit I see of Zia Cooke, yes, is her play, of course, on the court, but it's also the fans. LA is a team that really needs a little bit more excitement from a fan's perspective, and I think Zia Cooke can give that because you have all of the Gamecock fans, South Carolina fans who are just rowdy and they love their team and they love their alumni. I think it's really going to help LA in terms of like views for games, social media presence a little bit, and also possibly a little bit more butts in the seats, just for people turning up to see their favorite Zia Cooke play. Also, from a fan's perspective, I think it also helps that LA has gotten Monica Czinano, who was a huge piece for Iowa this year. Monica Czinano was basically Caitlin Clark's right-hand man. And she is probably the most talented big I've ever seen be dominant, score a lot of points, and never dribble. Like, it's just insane how she was able to use her pivot foot and score without dribbling at all. So, I think from a fan's perspective, you're going to have a lot of Iowa Hawkeye fans that are going to watch the Sparks solely because of Monica Czinano. And so that's great as long as she actually makes the team. It's great from a promotional standpoint. All right, let's actually talk about who I think will make the team. So let's start with the starters. So from the starters, or at least the people I think who will start this year, I have 4 starters because I don't know who that other player is. I'm basically missing a shooting guard on this team. But what I have right now is I have Jasmine Thomas, Katie Lou Samuelson, Nneka Ogwumike, and Azurá Stevens as the starters. The LA Sparks need a offensive juggernaut. And yes, Lexi Brown and Jordan Canada can shoot. But I just wonder how they'll shake out this season, basically. So right now I have Jasmine Thomas, Katie Lou Samuelson, Nneka Ogwumike, and Azurá starting, and that other guard position is kind of TBD. So in terms of who else I think should make this team, I think Shanice Swan, I'm saying her name wrong. I know she's from Australia. She looks to be a shooter. I will be very honest and tell you that I don't really watch Australian basketball. So I don't know that much about her, other than the fact that she seems to be pretty decent shot. Of course, Jasmine Thomas, Katie Lou Samuelson, Nneka Ogwumike, Azurá Stevens, Zia Cooke. I have her making the team. Dearica Hamby. Dearica Hamby is, I believe she's starting to get back into basketball shape. She just had a baby. Congratulations, Dearica. I don't think it's likely at all that LA would cut her. Just because once she gets fully back, Dearica Hamby is a beast. I loved watching her play for the Aces, and it was kind of sad to see her leave. But more opportunities, I guess, in LA. I see her making the team and probably not starting, of course, initially, but maybe by the end of the season, there'll probably be some days where she will actually start and probably play like the 3 guard or something like that. I also have Monica Czinano making this team. I think if LA is smart, from a marketing perspective, they will keep Monica Czinano on the team. But I believe Monica Czinano is going to be like a doctor or something. Is her backup career of sorts. So if she doesn't stay with the LA Sparks, if they decide to waive her, she'll probably just end up doing that. So it's great to have options as someone who could either play in the WNBA or not. But yeah, it'll be great from a marketing perspective. Also, Monica Czinano is awesome and could possibly be the big that LA relies on, with, Nneka Ogwumike getting a little bit older. It's good to have somebody that you can possibly train into, and really just pour into as a player. I have Crystal Bradford making this team also. Jordan Canada. And I would say it's a toss-up between Laisha Clarendon and Lexi Brown. I don't know which one of these players will make it. And also I have Ray Burrell as a borderline player as well. It's kind of a toss-up for LA, with them having a new coach in the locker room. I'm just not sure how much Curt Miller is going to try to make LA fit like the Connecticut Sun did. And so that's why I'm not sure about about these borderline players that he may or may not pick to be on the final roster. So yeah, so those are kind of my thoughts about who's possibly going to make this team. Of course, we will always see. We never quite know what's going to happen. And you may have thought, hey, she didn't mention Chiney. I didn't. Now, this opinion may be very unpopular for those who are super fans of ESPN and also super fans of Chiney Ogwumike, which I'm a fan of hers. I loved her when she played for the Connecticut Sun. Just really great player. Also, when she was with Stanford. But I don't think Chiney Ogwumike should be guaranteed a spot on this roster. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't have a spot at all. I don't think she should be guaranteed a spot. And the reason I say that is because she's an awesome commentator, great. But her production on the basketball court has diminished ever since basically ever since she left the Connecticut Sun. She came in the league just on fire. She was a very, very good player coming into the league. She had a bad, she was a great player. But her production has kind of diminished a little bit. She also had a really bad injury a couple years ago. And last year she just didn't have that much impact on the court. And it's very clear that basketball is not the most important thing for her. And that is totally okay. This is not me saying that basketball should be your number one thing. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that coming off of a pretty severe leg injury and just the work that it takes to get fully get back while also doing a whole nother job, while also trying to make sure you keep your roster spot. I think it's going to be very difficult, especially when you have other players coming into the league to compete with you, basically. And you have De'Erica Hamby and Azurá Stevens. I don't think the LA Sparks really need Chiney just as a big body like that. That being said, I think if she plays really, really well in training camp, I think she'll be on the team. But I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's likely that she will end up on this team come May. I'm a big fan of Chiney, and I think she could play into a roster spot. But this is probably one of the first years where I think it's kind of a toss-up whether or not Chiney is going to make this team. Just because you have a lot of awesome post talent. You have Azurá Stevens. You have De'Erica Hamby. You have Monica Czinano. You have bigger bodies that can help out in the post. You also have Joyner Holmes, who possibly has a chance of making this team. And so it's gonna be tough, I think, for Chiney to make this team. But we will see. We will see. Also, I just want to say about Curt Miller's style. His style is very, I feel defensive focused. And just looking at this roster that LA has, I think they're going to be pretty solid on the defense. The thing is, where in the world is their offense coming? Yes, you got Nneka who can, down low and score some buckets, but who do you have as just a pure shooter that can just do a lot of awesome stuff? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to see LA with no real shooters. Like, yes, you have Lexi Brown who can shoot, but I feel like she's kind of inconsistent as a shooter. You have Shanice Swain or Swan or whatever from Australia who may or may not be a great WNBA shooter. She definitely is a good shooter in Australia. So I guess time will tell, but from the looks of it, I just don't think LA will be scoring that many points. Then it'll be a lot of low scoring, grind out games. But yeah, they'll be pretty solid defensively. Offensively, they'll be kind of trash. All right. So in terms of where I think LA will stand for the season, I think they will not make the playoffs this year. And I also see them basically being at the bottom of the league, kind of battling with Indiana and Dallas for the worst teams in the WNBA. If the Sparks are smart, they won't care about being at the bottom because we are in a draft picks arms race to basically possibly land Caitlin Clark, Haley Van Lift, and or Angel Reese. Either in the 2024 WNBA draft or the 2025 WNBA draft, depending on when they opt to get in the draft. And so if I was a LA Sparks, I wouldn't care about being trash. You have a solid coach locked in for several years. This year, you can kind of work through the kinks and really define your defensive identity. And then next year or the year after, you get a phenomenal scorer and just build your team around that person. And then that's it. And then you win another championship. So that's what I think about Los Angeles. What do you all think? I know I kind of rambled a little bit, but do you think I'm totally wrong? Do you think Chiney will make this team? Do you think she won't make the team? What do you think about the players that left off of the roster? What do you think about Curt Miller? Is he going to be able to try to turn around LA in the next couple of years? Let me know your thoughts in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time. Bye.